It might not be the war that Vladimir Putin envisioned, but he shows no sign of giving in to the world's demands. Ukraine's president is not giving up either. A fearless leader, a digital-age communicator caught in an old-style European war. The image is so reminiscent of past battlefields, death and destruction, displacement, heartbreak. Scenes we hoped were history. The NATO alliance reaffirmed its opposition to Russia's assault, pledging new sanctions and help for refugees, but keeping its distance militarily. A world united, but only willing to go so far. Ukraine is caught between East and West, between autocracy and democracy. Its people in the middle. Millions running as others fight on, even repelling the Russian invaders, at least for now, as the world demonstrates its solidarity with Ukraine and feels its pain from a distance. This week, we heard from Ukrainians how they want to live their lives in peace and with freedom. The biggest question might be, will our resolve to change the course of this conflict be as powerful as theirs? And behind me, the road that continues to carry people out of Ukraine to a new life, to safety. Thanks for watching our YouTube channel. Follow today's top stories and breaking news by downloading the NBC News app.